right, so this is our first episode in English, and we're going to be talking about buying a property in Puerto Rico. What does that entail? What are the differences? And what you need to do to be prepared to take that leap. All right, welcome to Raices con Jen. In this channel, we typically talk about everything related to real estate, from investment, buying, selling, Airbnb, you name it. But mostly, or just about everything, is in Spanish. Today, we're taking this leap and starting with our English version and doing a playlist just dedicated for all these people that are interested in coming to Puerto Rico, maybe buy a property. A lot of Puerto Rican who grew in the States and mostly speak English and want to come back and make a home in Puerto Rico. So we're gonna do that starting today, and I think it was appropriate to start it off talking about just what is the process like and what are these main differences. And I want to start just with going in the financial aspect. As we know, in the U.S., there's many federal-backed loans to access properties, and in Puerto Rico is the same. It's the same process. We have FHA loans, we got VA loans, USDA rural loans, but as you know, most of these loans are for main residents or owner occupants, meaning that these loans are for people that are actually gonna live in that house as their main residence or primary residence. So a lot of you may not be the case, and you may have to resort to a conventional loan for a second home, or go through a traditional investment loan for financing. So the process works out about the same. Once you get to Puerto Rico, right, let's say you're looking at Puerto Rico as a viable option. You've heard the news, you've seen the pictures, you're visited, fell in love, and now you want to find your own place. There's a few differences that we need to keep in mind as to how the business is conducted for you to get to that point where you're in ownership of this house. And the first starts with how us real estate agents or realtors kind of function in Puerto Rico. What are the differences to most of the states in the US? And some of that you're gonna find right away is you may look into Zillow, you may look into Realtor.com and see that there may be limited inventory and not much information out there. And the reason is being that only about 9 to 10%, if that, of licensed real estate agents are actually realtors or members of the National Association of Realtors. And because of that, only that small group will have their properties posted through the MLS and syndicated into this website like Zillow and Realtor.com. So that means there's probably going to be more offering or more properties that are just scattered around from some local search engines, property search engines, local websites, individual websites. So it's a little bit harder to get a grip of what is the entire offering, all the houses are available out there. And another problem you sometimes run into is that this local website may not be as up to date as Zillow and Realtor.com, because the MLS in itself, which is where these websites pull the information from, has some rules in place for us to keep this property updated. So it's good that if you are coming, you start working with a real estate agent. Locally, I always recommend working with a realtor that can navigate you and get you exposed to more homes than just the ones in Zillow and Realtor.com, because those may end up being the best fit for you. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that contrary to most states in the United States, in Puerto Rico, this tradition or habit of having, or practice of having, buyer agents and listing agents, it's kind of like a mix. We can do dual representation as long as we disclose it to all the parts involved. And a lot of times also it's difficult to find agents that work exclusively with buyers. That has gotten a little bit better, but and that happens because not all agents are open to sharing commission, right? We call that co-broker or co-brokering, which is when an listing agent has a negotiated commission with the seller that he's representing, and now he's willing to split that commission with another agent that will bring in the buyer. And this is very common in the States. You see it all the time, but here's not as common, and some people will just openly not do co-broke, some agents. So that limits sometimes the ability of a real estate agent to be able to help you getting into maybe the homes that you actually like, because that other agent is not providing a compensation or not sharing their listings. So this brings us to where a lot of agents in Puerto Rico have adopted the practice of doing buyer representation agreements, where you get into an agreement with that agent that he will be your only and exclusive representative through this process of obtaining your home, so that way he can be sure that he's going to help you, to find that house, and that his efforts will be paid for, remunerated. And also with that, at times, we may be able to find your perfect home. We may be able to get that one house, that one unicorn you were looking for, but it may require that you pay a commission to the buyer, because the buyer agent, because the selling agent maybe is not providing that commission to the buyer agent. And that's how we're able to help you out without any regards to whether they're paying commission or not. We'll go out there and not have to worry about that, and being able that will help us to open more doors for you as well. So that's one of the big differences. Another difference that I see the guests sometimes, foreign buyers, is that there are like title companies and closing offices that will hold escrow, but there are very few. They're not used as often. And what is the norm is that all brokers or real estate brokers are mandated by the state to have a escrow account that doesn't generate any income or from the proceedings or the deposits that get put in there. And we are the ones that typically will hold the escrow. So meaning the earnest money deposit. So in that sense, that's something that is a little bit different as well. The financing sometimes can be a little tough in terms of the required documentation. It's very thorough, meaning you're gonna need just the normal, what you would need in the States, in terms of your income taxes for the last 2 years, your pay stubs, proof of of work, and all that. And also it may get a little bit deeper, where you may have to disclose and explain, if you do like Venmo and PayPal and stuff, where those transactions are going and for what a purpose. You may have to like write a letter explaining that, and just some other stuff. So the financing can be very thorough, very paperwork intensive, but that's just the process, how it is here. In terms of the product, like we discussed, they're about the same as in the States. They may be a little bit more limited in the amount that they can borrow. Like for second home, I know that you may get up to like 90% with a insurance, like Magic Insurance. So that's available. But the other thing that I like to speak with customers that come from the States. It's because of what we talked earlier about the collaboration between agents and how the splits are set up and all that, and the dual representation. Contrary to the States, where you can normally just set up appointments right away. I'll just like call the listing agent and get the code and have a lockbox in the house, and we can just get in. It's very easy to coordinate showings. Doesn't tend to be as easy in Puerto Rico. Lockboxes are not as commonly used as they're in the States. Collaboration is not as commonly done as it is in the States. So what I do recommend is, if you're planning to come to Puerto Rico, I would definitely first recommend coming to visit, to just kind of learn the islands, learn the different areas. You're gonna see that San Juan is very different than the East Coast. Let's say Rio Grande, which is very different from Rincon, which is very different from Ponce. So depending where you wanna, what you're looking for, you may find it in different areas of the island, and you're not gonna find out what that really is probably until you come in here and visit and experience and kind of get to know the things that are important to you, which towns or which areas have those offerings and that are closer to that property that you're looking for. But also, if you're coming to visit with the intention of just specifically looking at homes, it is important that you communicate ahead of time. At least, I would say at least 2-3 weeks. Let us know so we can start sending you properties and start scheduling the showings. Now for that, it is very common, I think it's this standard, that to see any property you will be required to show one of two things, which will be proof of funds, or and that's for cases where you're like doing a cash purchase, or you're gonna need a pre-qualification letter. Maybe in some cases you may want to do a pre-approval letter once you're certain that you're moving forward with moving to Puerto Rico, or buying a second home or an investment home here in Puerto Rico. So once we do our initial consultation, likely the first step that we will ask you to do is just to get a consultation with a mortgage loan officer here in Puerto Rico, from one of the banks here in Puerto Rico, so you can get pre-qualified for this purchase. You can understand fully what their options are for your financing, and that we can get that number right that you agree with within your budget and what you're able to qualify for that loan. That will open up the door for us to go show you different properties, from whether it's our inventory or any other property that any of the other real estate agents may have available. So those are important, and you're prepared with those. And then you give us time, at least 2 weeks, I will say, to start coordinating these visits. Sometimes it takes time. A lot of the houses here in Puerto Rico, when they're put in the market, most of them are not vacant, and it sometimes can be a little bit tough to coordinate the showings with the owners and and everything, and that maybe small window that you may be here in Puerto Rico to look for these houses. But it's very, very important that you understand that Puerto Rico culturally is very different. The infrastructure can be fairly different, very different from in the States. So for me, it is important that you come in here, you get to see what the different areas have to offer, what you kind of like getting yourself into. Obviously, we have a lot to offer. It's a beautiful island with a lot of opportunities for investment, or just for just having a nice family life. I moved back here. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, but I moved back here about 4 years ago, and we really love it. We have our kids in great schools, and we're flourishing here in Puerto Rico. So it is a great move to make, but obviously the needs of every one of us are a little bit different. So coming here, my recommendation would be to come to Puerto Rico, visit the island, get to know, and once you settle on that area that you think is the right one, then we start having those more serious conversation about getting you pre-approved, getting you pre-qualified, and start showing you these houses, and then getting to know this area in at a more deeper level. So again, financing, very similar. It can be a little bit more lengthy, the process, but it's very similar to what you find in the States. In terms of the operation of the real estate agents and the collaboration between the two can be a little bit different. So just make sure we have enough time and you know that you're open to buying to getting that buyer agreement signed, so you can work exclusively with a real estate agent. Definitely recommend a realtor. And just understanding that what you may see from what your knowledge is, where you can find properties in Puerto Rico, that's probably going to be only a fraction of what's really available. So that's another reason, an important reason, to work with other agents or work with an agent that can help you open up those doors to that different inventory. So now this is the first one of many, hopefully. I know this is kind of quick, a lot of information, but what we're gonna do is in the future we're gonna keep breaking down these details, you know, of each one of these moving parts one by one, and hopefully we'll see you soon in Puerto Rico, being part of our amazing culture and amazing country here, and you get to enjoy everything that we have to offer. Again, this has been Raices con Jan. To the next one.